So with our gorgeous Mr. Ethan, hi handsome guy, we're going to warm up with a couple little find its like we normally do, kind of get him in the groove. So again, the benefit of some of these find its is to hopefully get him comfortable in the environment again. So this is again his day number 2 out of the 4-week session for the day school. He's doing quite lovely. He and Mr. Alston have become really good friends and they sometimes get to wrestle. Ready? So if let's say he's a little bit unsure, remember I do recommend let them get to check out the environment first. Get comfortable before you start asking for focus on you. So what I mean by that is if let's say you were going to be practicing in your yard, I would recommend to let him go and decompress, do a little go sniff walk around the environment in which you're going to be practicing as your classroom setting. And then as he gets more cozy, then you'll be able to get more focus back on you because the environment has already been kind of figured out. If again, he hasn't really had the chance to go check it out. Oh, nice job. You were about to do a down. Sorry, here you go. Let's say your babe hasn't had the chance to go explore the bubble yet. A lot of times, again, it's like us stepping into novelty, but without even really seeing what's around us. So again, we could be blindfolded. So to help him feel more comfortable and more resilient and more focused, I find the decompression go look around and sniff walks to be very helpful. And that can even be used in different zones. So if let's say, for example, you were going to be practicing in your front yard versus your backyard, a lot of times you step into a new environment and the dog is like completely gone. So I find that if you are tending to lose him to novelty, it might be one of those situations, nice job, sir, is that if we lose him to novelty, it could be one of those situations where we need him to get more comfortable checking out those bubbles and then being able to come back from it. Ready? He did get to do a little bit of play earlier too. I didn't do tons of it because I know last time when we did play first, he got a little too winded. So he does know the flirt pool is up there and he's like, guys, I would really love it if we could play with him again later. It's his BFF. He might be a little bit smitten by it. If he's a little bit too in love with the flirt pole, I might put it away and then again, work a few more skills. Ready? He's like, no, I would really love it if we could play with it. I know you're more of a play guy. What I'm going to do is I'm actually going to grab one of my toys super fast and we'll use that for a little bit of engagement and working with some of that loose leash walking. So just excuse me for 1 second. I know I'm going to be a little bit out of camera shot for just a sec. I'm just going to grab my toy. Bonk and hit my elbow slightly, but it's still good. So let's say again, I know we were using toys last time. Ready, sir? For some lovely engagement with the handler. So you can see with Mr. Handsome over here, he does really like toys. So again, good. And we can go into some play. So play for him, as we mentioned a little bit last Thursday, is that it could be a great venue for building drive and focus on you. So if let's say he tends to have a harder time in those novel bubbles, if we build up play is a really great way to hang out with the handler and that we can be more maybe fun than the environment at times. This could be another great way to hone him in when otherwise he might have been gone. So again, he's playing, he's doing a great job. We might even work too, if he ever enjoys toys more than he does food, you could also do this type of game with 2 toys. So I know I had mentioned like the toy exchange game earlier, but take it and drop it would be an exercise, or take it and give or out. I wouldn't say leave it. Leave it again is for something that's always off limits. But drop it, give or out. If your babe is more toy driven than food driven, you could be playing with 2 different tuggies and get him to play with one. The original toy that he was playing with kind of goes limp and it starts to not wiggle or be engaging. And then you bust out the new toy and have him rotate to the 2 toys. So ready? So we might go again with me or let's go, whatever slogan you'd like to use for movement. So if he's already a little tired, oh my goodness, so pooped out, you want it? So again, no worries if he gets a little eager beaver and does some jumpies. The main goal is that we, again, good, is we get to practice giving him the reinforcement when maybe all 4 on the floor. If you find that you really want to keep building up that keeping your body low is the benefit. Again, it's all personal, faves or like whatever you'd prefer. For me, I don't mind like when I'm actually playing tug with one of my guys, he can jump on me. We go and we wrestle. I push him down. I poke at him. So I'm really just trying to get him to still want to keep playing, even though we might be doing some wild times throughout the play. So for me, I don't mind if the dog goes to jump on me while we're mid-working because I want a dog that feels comfortable like moving and playing and being themselves. So that way later later, if I need to funnel their attention in another way, they're not worried about, oh my gosh, could I make a mistake? And then they don't want to try at all. So I don't like to scold behavior, even if it's behavior that later you don't really want potentially. I would instead always think, what would I rather from my dog, and go from there. So like right now we're getting some really nice taking, and he really likes to grab, so he's doing a real nice job. If he's not interested in the food, I might try, ready, drop. Nice. He's like, no, that's stupid. That's okay. So we'll just do a little bit more where we wiggle, move around. Ready? So remember, toys could be a great way to keep interest on you, but I would keep your little training session short and sweet, because I think his attention span, being a teenager, is not as big as, let's say, sometimes an adult dog or a dog that's had a lot more practice. Right there? Good. So you could also reinforce, let's say, a sitting position, a down with a toy. So if he's more, again, toy driven, use that to your advantage and make training fun. He's like, lady, make it wiggle. So if he prefers more the wiggly on the floor, you may want to practice trying to make your toy turn into more of a real live critter, because that tends to increase more of this toy drive and play towards your bubble. Nice. So we might get him to go again. Ready? With me? He's like, yes, I would love to. So if he's a little eager beaver, I just take a few steps where we walk softly near each other and together, and then good. And that way it's not so unattainable for him. I don't want it to become either boring or overwhelming, or, for example, too stressful. So obviously there's going to always be a little bit of like underlying, like, I don't know what I'm doing, for both ends. So, but training should be fun. It shouldn't be stressful or something you're, dreading. So this is really pretty. Nice job, sir. Ready? So again, we're going to get his attention. Do a little bit with some movement. He's like, lady, I couldn't possibly. Ready? What a good job. You ready? Good job. So if, again, we got a little bit of this lovely toy drive out of him, good job, sir. We might give him a little breather. He says, oh, fine, I guess I'll eat a hot dog. So we can play with this one, again, a little bit later. I'll just plop it up here for now. So for the handsome guy, I know you had mentioned he is a bit of a puller. And I know we discussed a little bit last week, making sure that sometimes he has a little bit of mental and physical energy burning first, and then see if you can work a little bit of that fine tuning for loose leash walking. So let's say, for example, I know last time we tried doing a little bit with that leash pressure. I am not saying he has to rock it. I know last time he was a bit tired because we did do a little bit of play, and then he was a bit overtired. So what I like to do is get your babes comfortable using both your shorter lead, which could be your 6-footer, using your longer training leash, which I know you said when you do use your training lead or your long leash, you are then attaching it to his harness, which is really good and very nicely recommended. Pooped out. Is we want the handsome guy, he's like, I don't know if I like my liver treats as much. Oh my goodness. So, but we want to make sure that when we're practicing on any equipment, safety first. So I know your end goal would be to have him softly walk on a collar, and that's a wonderful end goal. If, for example, though he does do a lot of jostling right now, I would still recommend the body harness. At times you could technically clip to the front, like we may have discussed a little bit before. Remember though, if we're looking to gear to somehow magically stop behavior though, it's not going to really help us in the way we were hoping. So I would recommend to capture the moments he's being successful, feed, play, food, again, for him may not be his favorite, but maybe toys, exploration, checking out novelty. Those could all be really nice reinforcements for him compared to, for example, working for the food. So ready? As the reinforcement. He's like, okay, hot dogs aren't so shabby. So if let's say he's a little bit stuck, I might try and get him up. There we go, nice. So because if the gear is the only thing making him move forward, remember we don't want him to think the gear is the only reason behind behavior. So if we're finding that, let's say, gear is sometimes a little bit weird for him and for you, you may find practicing with gear on and off in the home can be helpful. I know he says, but what about my flirt pole? Ready? We'll see if we can get his attention. Nice, good job, sir. So I normally do recommend have the food on the same side that your dog is going to be working on. He, for example, is a little in love with the toys, so I might actually move them out of range just for a second. I'll have him wear his little leash as a belt. Oh, fell right off. So I'm going to move these bad boys out of range just for a moment because he says they're a little too distracting, and we'll plop them off in a different spot where he cannot reach them. Excuse me, my lovey. And then that way they're kind of just out of sight, out of mind, hopefully. So I'm going to try not to make them be too noisy. There we go. So now they're out of range. Ready? We'll see if we can get a little bit more focus. Hi, my handsome guy. Good check-in. So if, for example, he is sometimes not as attentive, not a big deal. Right there. Yes, good job. He's like, oh, I'm already so tired. So I'm going to try, and maybe we'll give him a little break from the gear just for a second and work a few more little tidbits, some skills to get him warmed up. So remember, too, that obviously coming to the classroom, being away from his family members, this novelty, there's a lot of sort of new sights and sounds in the building. It is a little bit of a learning curve for a lot of the babes. So I find that for a lot of them, their first few days coming is also decompression, kind of getting in the groove, figuring out what they can, work on, what they still need to do some more practice with. He's so in love. Ready? I know there's a little crack and he still sees them. Hello there, sir. So we're just going to move this a little bit out of the way. Sorry about the noises. Just moving. I have a couple wooden barriers that sometimes helps the babes not be able to see each other the whole time. Nice job. Ready? Find it? So we may find for the handsome guy, sometimes getting the flirt pole out of range might be helpful, but we'll see if we can get him to sort of do some check-ins. Ready? It's right there. Yes, I'm going to feed him for that little sort of check-in looking at me. Ready? So again, if he's a little distracted, he stepped on one of his snacks. He's like, ew. We may even try a little bit with the handsome guy. He's looking at my ceiling. I think for him today too, he's not really used to this flat roof, I don't believe, because the sound of the rain, I don't think you can hear it very well on the audio, but it's been a bit noisy. So for some of them, if they're not familiar with it, he has been taking some of his moments and like looking up at the ceiling. So for him, it could be a little bit of comfort range right now. Ready? You want to do a little find it? So if comfort range is not always necessarily there, we want to see if we can get him to feel more comfortable through movement or wiggling in the bubble versus always thinking about stationary positions if he's feeling a little bit more apprehensive. So ready? I'll see if I can get his little attention back on me. If he's a little bit unsure, I might try a few newer snacks. He says, I like the ones mom brought, but I'm also just hopeful that the flirt pole's still here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to give him just a little breather. I'm going to see, maybe he'll come back. I'm going to see if I can grab a few other little novel snacks for him, see if we can get him to do some little check-ins and then continue on this practice. But you can see that toys are much more reinforcing for the handsome guy. So using maybe special novel toys for certain situations. For some babes, like as you're entering the home environment and your dog is really excitable, you may find that giving them, let's say, a frozen Kong or giving them a puzzle toy or maybe doing find its could be a great option. For Mr. E, we might find that Ethan, yes, he may actually prefer, he's not really food driven right now because he's a little bit unsure. He says, but this toy looks intriguing. But we may find for him going into having a novel toy and then being able to go play with it as you enter the room could be another great way to get him to do that as opposed to maybe bombarding you or jumping on you or mouthing you if he's really excited in that first few moments. So maybe what I'll do is I'll grab a few little new tidbits, see if I can get this handsome guy to do a few more little check-ins. We'll do a little bit more practice and we'll continue with this handsome guy. So I'm just going to go grab a few little tidbits for him.